guys, it's Christina from Redefine Creative, and I am super excited to be back with another process video for SpiegelMom Scraps. And this week we are taking on the challenge of scrap lifting the Boss Lady. And so there you can see the layout I have chosen from her. So it has some floral details on the top and the bottom with pattern paper, and then it also has a bunch of circular elements in the middle. So 2 of them with pattern paper and 2 of them with pictures. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to translate this into a very different looking layout. So you can tell just by the color scheme that we're going with a very different kind of look and feel. This is a much more masculine layout. And it's also going to be interactive. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to kind of accomplish those things. And it is going to end up looking quite a bit differently than what her layout looks like. And so what I am starting with is I grabbed a bunch of pattern paper scraps. Things that I knew would coordinate really well together based on the colors and kind of the feel. So I have some leftovers from Penelope D, which is that one that has like the film strip stuff on it. There's some Auburn Lane in there, which is the greenish paper. There are some Prima cards kind of down in that stack. And then there's some Alexandra Ranke journaling cards. And so everything kind of has the same color scheme and the same feel. So I'm going to be combining a lot of different collections. And when I am doing that, that's what I'm looking for. What colors are going to coordinate really well together, and what collections have a similar feel to them that are going to kind of work seamlessly together. So there are certain collections that I definitely wouldn't pair up because the theme or the feel of them is very different. And so I'm kind of looking at, or I'm thinking that I'm going to go with the same design as what Jody has on her layout, where she has some strips of pattern paper across the top and the bottom of the page. And then she has a grid pattern paper in the middle with the circles on top. And so I have these 2 circular photos. I have my circular journaling card, and you can see I'm just kind of moving them all around, trying to decide where I want them to go. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this grid paper, and this is also from Prima, and go ahead and trim off a piece of that that's going to go right in the middle. And this is going to end up being the interactive part of this layout. So I knew that I wanted to have this be an impactful layout. Excuse me. And so I wanted a way to include a bunch of pictures, as well as our museum tickets and this essay that my son had to write. So the whole idea behind this layout is he had an assignment where we had to go to the local art museum. And he had to find a piece of artwork that he was intrigued by or that he somehow connected with. And so we walked around, throughout the entire museum, and he really connected with this particular piece, which was a really awesome piece of artwork. And so basically it was a bunch of pieces of fishing line that are hanging from the ceiling, and they all have pieces of charred wood. So it starts with these big pieces in the middle, and then it kind of goes out to all these little tiny pieces on the edges. And there was a big poster talking about the thought behind it, and there was a lot of like scientific background behind it. This idea that matter doesn't disappear, it just changes shape, and this transformation. And all of these charred pieces were actually from a church that had been burned down. And so it was kind of just this whole idea of transforming and matter and the scientific background behind this piece of art was kind of what captured Parker's attention. And that's what he wrote about in his essay. So I wanted a way to be able to include the photos of the exhibit itself, but also his essay, because I thought that was an important kind of piece of the puzzle, is how he connected with this piece of artwork at this particular age on this particular kind of chapter in his life. And so the pictures that I've taken and cut into circles are going to go on the top of this grid paper. And then underneath, I'm going to create that as kind of a flip pocket that opens up, and inside is going to be his essay, as well as like our museum tickets and a full 4x6 photo of this piece of artwork. So you'll see all of that kind of coming. And so what I did is I was thinking about, I moved down from the very top those 2 pattern papers to go right underneath the grid paper. And that's going to go kind of, instead of being right across the top of the layout, it's going to go down by that piece that's going to fold open. And then I decided I needed to take my photos and put a little bit of a black border around them just to make them stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to have my pattern paper layers all the way across the bottom of the layout, and then I'm going to have the other pieces, rather than being at the top of the layout, they're going to be at the top of my interactive flip pocket that's going to open. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut those, and then I've pulled out some foam thickers that just say Inspire Awesome, and that's going to be my title. So I really liked on Jody's layout that she had all of her circles, and then she had this nice big kind of bold title built into that top element. So I'm kind of trying to recreate that same thing. So I'm going to grab some of these tickets that I cut out of that pattern paper from Prima, and then I also found this little blue piece that's kind of like a library card, and I'm going to layer those up to kind of be the basis for where my title is going to live. So it's going to ground that title and make it a little bit different, and it also gives me a place where I can cluster a bunch of embellishments because I want to add a bunch of small embellishments. In Jody's layout that I'm scrap lifting, she used a bunch of little like epoxy stickers and little epoxy hexagons and things. Rather than going with that, I'm going to use things like sequins and wood veneer and phrase stickers, a couple of fabric tags. So you see me kind of starting to pull out a bunch of those embellishment pieces. And I've grabbed some of these tabs because I wanted there to be a tab on this pocket that's going to flip open, and it just says My Story. And then I'm going to also have some of those on the inside of this flip pocket as well. And then I've grabbed another one to kind of go in my little title element that just says In the Moment. And there you can see I've taken his essay and I've backed that on some black cardstock. Excuse me, that's going to go on the back of my flip pocket. And then I'm kind of creating this like cluster of goodies that's all paper clipped together that's going to go underneath. And so that's where our museum tickets are and the extra 4x6 photo and then some little die cuts that just kind of enhance the story. So then I'm going to go ahead and go back and add a bunch of little phrase stickers that say things like little stories, things that matter, write it down, stories of life. So just kind of these little sentiments that are going to kind of go along with the feel of my story. And then I'm going to grab my sequins, and I'm pulling out two of my absolute favorites, especially for masculine layouts. So if you do a lot of boy layouts, you definitely want to pick up these two mixes. One that I'm using is Metallic Mess, and that's the one that has that kind of bronze brushed sequin in it that I tend to have been using a lot of lately. And then the other one is Earthy Treasure, which is a really great one because it's got the wood grains and the blues. There's some cream in there, some little wood veneer hearts. Like, that is just a really, really awesome mix. And so the two of those mixes together really add to the masculine feel, but still kind of leave this layout fun and artistic, which it should be because it's an art museum. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. I have literally been battling this cough for what feels like 2 months already. 2 months! I don't think it's been quite that long, but it's been a long time. Alright, so I'm flipping through looking for some little ephemera and things, and I've just pulled out my November Killikit is still sitting here on my desk. Because I elected not to do a December one this time, just because of the holidays and I have so much going on. So I'm still kind of working through some of the pieces of my November one. And so I did find in there a couple of little fabric arrows. So one of them says Escape the Ordinary, and then one of them is just a regular arrow. So I'm going to get those into that front page of my flip pocket. And then on the inside of that flip pocket, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple little pieces of ephemera. One just says Rough Around the Edges. And then I'm going to add one along the bottom that just has a bunch of numbers on it that comes off of this cut apart sheet. And then I also have this little circular piece of ephemera that says You're So Clever. And I tucked that into my paper clip that has all of my kind of elements that are going to go hidden behind this page. And so there is definitely a lot going on this particular page. But it ends up having a really fun kind of artistic feel. And it definitely is more masculine, which is a look that I'm really trying to go more for in my older son's book. He's getting a lot more picky about, like, what kinds of things, what types of colors, am I using things that are too little kiddish, or am I going for a more masculine look? And so this is definitely a page that he absolutely approved of. And he's like, yes, I want my stuff to look more like that, Mom. And so that's a good thing. We are on the right track with meeting this whole idea of how do we scrapbook middle school and high school boys. And so that's going to do it for me. Do click down below if you want to check out those two mixes that are absolutely perfect for masculine layouts, and I'll see you soon. Bye!